Ayo, so if you've ever watched the Karate Kid franchise, then you know how cheesy it is in general and how long these movies are. Also, you understand the fact that after many years, if you're anything like me, Johnny wasn't really a bad kid. He was a victim of a bad, violent sensei who came back from war with immense amount of PTSD after having to face off in, I don't know what war exactly, I think Vietnam, face off in the Vietnam War, let's go with that, to survive his life using karate, literally learning the essence of what Cobra Kai would then become. Now, because of this, in the Karate Kid movies though, you have him based as an evil guy. Johnny, we're talking about here. Even though if you had a dude named Daniel LaRusso show up to your school, start hitting on your girlfriend, and if I remember correctly, there was kind of like they were in the middle of a fight, but you know, Daniel don't care. You'd want to beat that kid's ass too, just a little bit, or at least talk to him, you know what I mean? And this is exactly how Karate Kid's legends pretty much started. You have Lee, who's living in China. His uncle, Jackie Chan, is teaching him Kung Fu, and his mother does not want him to learn Kung Fu. He then is forced to move to New York City with his mother, which you find out the reason that she doesn't want him learning Kung Fu is because his brother died after a Kung Fu tournament he won by getting jumped and stabbed by someone. Spoilers alert, by the way, everyone. It's pretty much almost the kind of an essence of what was once happened. I mean, if I remember correctly, Daniel LaRusso originally came from New York City, so it's funny to see him go from New York City, or go from the Valley back to New York City to teach a kid karate instead of Kung Fu, to try and branch off what was originally known as Miyagi-Do, because Jackie Chan was part of the family that taught Mr. Miyagi's great uncle what he knew about Kung Fu. Mr. Miyagi's uncle then taught them what they knew about karate. They mixed it together all into one and made Miyagi-Do, which is why it's probably so successful in a lot of tournaments and why he was able to defeat Johnny in the long run. But like I said, Johnny was a victim in his entire situation there. And you learn that throughout the Cobra Kai series. Now, this is a problem with the Karate Kid movies I have in specific. They're not quite long enough to show you the full context of every situation, and it's even worse in this one alone. See, you get a lot of information thrown at you in the matter of 2.5 hours. In my opinion, the best way they have shown the Karate Kid franchise has been through Cobra Kai specifically. And it's a fantastic franchise. It's one of my favorite karate franchises I've ever seen. It's an amazing TV show. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and give it a watch. But overall, it's too short to pack all of that information. He moves to New York City from Beijing. He finds a girl there. That girl's boyfriend, or not boyfriend, or, you know, trouble always, happened to know karate. And well, he didn't like that. His current girlfriend, that he didn't know she was broken up with him, is hanging out with some random dude that he doesn't know, and they're all smiling and laughing after her scooter broke down because he was trying to teach her, or her dad, or he was new in town. He was trying to help them out in general because he wanted a stuffed crust pizza from a New York City pizza joint. Now, I'm sure they have a Pizza Hut inside of Beijing, and that's where he got it from. And stuffed crust pizza is the best and most deluxe pizza you can ever get in general. In my honest opinion, most locations in general should all have a stuffed crust pizza. I don't care how good your pizza is, you should minimally have a stuffed crust option, and it will probably outsell 90% of your pizzas in general. Anyway, you found out that Mia's dad ends up being, after Lee gets kicked in the face, ends up kind of being in some trouble. You want to know how? He goes and talks to her dad because he got a black eye from Mia's ex-boyfriend, and, well, he fixes it up. You find out Mia's dad is an ex-boxer, and now he gets attacked in the back of some dumpsters. So Lee does what he does best. He uses kung fu, kicks some ass, and the dad's like, teach me how to do it. He calls his uncle back up, even though he promised his mom, I'm not going to box anymore, or I'm not going to do kung fu anymore, and decides to teach him kung fu anyway. Well, you might ask the question that I was asking. How the hell is kung fu going to teach this man anything about boxing? Maybe stamina, so on and so forth, who knows? It doesn't matter at the end of the day. So far, the movie is so good. I'd give it about, at this point in time, probably a 3, a 3 out of 5 bananas. You know what I mean? A 3 out of 4, or a 3 out of 5 stuffed crust pizzas. You know what I mean? So, overall, we're heading to a good area, and in my mind, I'm like, this movie, at the pace that it's going, has to at least be 3 hours long, because there's no other way that this is going to be able to shove everything in it that it properly needs to shove in it. He helps train his dad. He helps train Mia's dad. We're talking about Lee. He tries to pay off, because he's trying to pay off loan sharks, and while he's trying to pay off these loan sharks, the boxing tournament he's going to is going to give him a lot of money. How much money? I don't know specifically, but he owes these loan sharks money. So he ends up losing because as the fighter against him elbows him in the face with a sweet, hey ye, look at these, boop, 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 elbow bust to the face. And honestly, in my opinion, from my knowledge, that disqualifies the fighter who did it and makes the other dude end up actually winning the fight. But apparently not in Karate Kid Legends logic. Doesn't make sense to me. Whatever. So the kid starts having flashbacks, meaning Lee, about when his brother was dying, and the dad goes to the hospital. He fully recovers. He ends up being fine. Mia gets mad because he's not going into the hospital, and the mom's like, hey, you! Now I gotta save your friend because you decided to do some fighting stuff. And, you know, it is what it is. He ends up going home. His uncle's there to show him Kung Fu. And his uncle was like, you gotta learn Kung Fu and karate. You're gonna do this because we're gonna figure out a way to help your friend out so he could save his pizza shop and pay off those damn loan sharks. Lo and behold, there's a karate tournament going on, and who else are you gonna get Miyagi-Do karate from besides Daniel-san? Absolutely no one. So, of course, Jackie Chan travels out to the valley, goes into Miyagi-Do, and finds Daniel-san. He's right there. He's like, I'm not going to New York. He's like, yeah, you are. He's like, I'm not going to New York. He's like, yeah, back and forth, back and forth. He ends up going to New York, obviously, because, well, Daniel LaRusso is just that kind of guy. He's a stand-up dude. I don't think, in my opinion, even in the Karate Kid movies, that Daniel is necessarily the bad guy in this. I think he's always just trying to find a way the same way Johnny was. I mean, I believe it's Karate Kid 2 where he goes over and trains with Cobra Kai for a while, doesn't he? And he becomes a vicious, unknown version of himself that he doesn't even recognize, and Silver gets into his head. And you find that all in the Cobra Kai TV show as well. But overall, he goes to New York, they train, and Connor Day is the name of Mia's ex-boyfriend. And there's a special move that Lee was trying to use on Connor when they were first fighting that his dead brother taught him. It's called the Dragon Kick Flip Buttery Nipple Kickity-Doo. And he tries it on Connor. Connor kicks his leg out and then punches him in the face at the same time. Never seen it happen before, but it was pretty badass. So he needs to figure out how to trap Connor, because guess how Connor fights? Exactly like how Cobra Kai would fight. He fights like a tiger, not a snake though. Snakes are a little bit less agile, I guess. You know, cats, I've seen cats and snake videos, they smack the shit out of the snake and that's that. But he fights like a quote-unquote tiger, so they end up setting a trap for him in the final fight. Now, this is where the movie, for me, generally becomes a little, what the hell just happened there? Why did all of that just seamlessly get skipped? But the rest of it, we kind of seemed a little longer than it should have been. You know what I mean? Mr. Daniel Russo is fighting with Jackie Chan the entire time about what weighs better, Kung Fu or karate, this, that, and the other. And the whole episode is continuously, the whole movie is continuously about one tree, two branches, which is stronger, this one's stronger, this one's stronger, this one's stronger, this one's stronger, so on and so forth. But the moment he actually starts fighting in these karate tournaments, He ends up winning all of them, obviously, but it seems like it's one after the other after they fast forwarded every single fight, and you don't get to really see any of them until the final fight against Connor Day. Now, of course, Connor Day, having a really sleazy coach, is a victim of the same thing Johnny was at one point in time, the same thing Daniel was at one point in time, and the same thing that a lot of Cobra Kai students, including even Hawk, was because of one time. A real grease ball of a sensei who has enough grease on his hair that it's literally dripping off of his back and oiling the entirety of the New York City subway system, because that's how much oil he put in his hair. You know, he looks like a real greaser, like he's back in Grease, the movie, putting motor oil up in that bitch and just, hey, living it and scooping it down back into his hair. You know, really putting it back out of his face, so you know that he's not balding. He promises he's not balding. You know, that's not a comb over whatsoever. He is not balding in the back. It's all there still. He promises. And because of this, when they're training, you see a scene where Connor Day's like, why should I finish him? His sensei's like, because. He's like, well, aren't I just going for points? His sensei's like, we're not just going for points. Blah, 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 blah. You know, because the classic douchebag thing, the same thing that Silver did to Daniel, and the same thing that the other guy did to Johnny. I can never remember his sensei's name. I think his name was John as well. I don't remember the last name though, but it was a solid last name. Shit, it was a solid 80s karate movie last name, dude. But overall, because of this, Connor is this way. At one point in time before this fight, though, Connor and Mia meet up again at this fair that Mia invited, you know, Lee to and all that shit, and then he gets pissed off at her. It's a whole fucking thing, just to be like, oh, I didn't want him, I want you, I promise. Whatever, okay? Basic Karate Kid movie story here. All right, you can look at any Karate Kid, and there's always some sort of girl that these two guys are fighting over. So it's a classic, it's cheesy, it's exactly everything you expect a Karate Kid movie to be, except the length isn't quite long enough. That is my biggest problem here, is it should have been another hour of you actually watching him fight through these, maybe even the slightest struggle through every single one of these fights. Even though he's been, you know, doing Kung Fu for years and picked up karate fast, there should still be a little struggle, just a little bit. We get to the fight here, and obviously Connor dominates at first, just like any Karate Kid thing. The hero gets dominated slightly at first, gets 4 points on Lee. Lee comes back, strikes him, has 1 point to win the damn thing. Connor comes back, does a few illegal hits and all that shit. Lee's on the ground, almost passes out, is seeing flashbacks of Vietnam, World War I, World War II, and the first initiation of the Kung Fu Punch all coming together into one. He then grabs the ref's hand at final second and stops him from saying done, gets back up, comes out, and sets the trap for the tiger, which, like we said, was the dragon buttery nipple flip we were talking about earlier in this video. It works exactly how described. Sets the trap, he sweeps the leg, punches him down, he wins the fight. Of course, because Connor's taught in such a horrible way, and this is where I want to say this very, very obvious thing again. It shows where the sensei's a horrible person. Connor tries to come back and hit Lee while his back is turned. Of course, Lee catches him and absolutely dog houses him real quick, puts him on the ground, threatens to punch him, and then, you know, because the Miyagi-Do way is to not kill your enemy, because Mr. Miyagi quite literally did that before and is wanted in, I think, China for it. He punches the side of him to show dominance, like, you know, two cats fighting and pissing on the floor at the same time, and called it a day. He won the fight. He saved his friend's pizza shop, saved his girlfriend's pizza shop, and that was the movie. At the very end of it, Daniel LaRusso gets a pizza shipped to him, FedExed, I don't know, maybe airplane, $1,100 plus tip. And it's directly from New York City. And guess who's there, baby? Johnny. My boy, Johnny. I fucking love Johnny, man, dude. He's my favorite character in the entirety of this franchise. Is he a little bit of a jackass? Absolutely. Is he a little bit of an asshole? To be quite honest, yes. But does that motherfucker have a soft side and know when to fight and when not to? No. Okay, he does have a slight soft side, but that motherfucker will fight for quite literally anything. But can you blame him? I can't. I wouldn't blame him. I understand where he's coming from. In my opinion, Danny LaRusso should have started more fights, okay? But this to me tells me that this isn't the end of the Karate Kid saga, and if anything, it is a new beginning for the Karate Kid movies in general. I would give this a 8.5 out of 12 kettle-cooked sour cream and chives, okay? Sour cream, chives, and onion chips out of 12, or 7 out of 10 movie score. Now, like I said, when you're watching this movie, it's cheesy, it's everything a Karate Kid movie is going to be, and you need to expect that to be it. And if you don't, and you don't understand the Karate Kid franchise in general, and you're looking for a real badass movie, you're looking at the wrong movie. It's just not it. It's a cheesy, great movie, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it is the best movie ever, but if you don't believe that every Karate Kid movie was cheesy just like that, go ahead and take your rose-tinted glasses off and rewatch the old Karate Kid movies and tell me that it isn't. They all are. Great writing still, but they're still damn near as cheesy as it gets. You all have a wonderful day, night, and or evening. And let me know what you think. I know I haven't done a video like this before, but hopefully you liked it. Peace.